The dust on the dead planet had not moved in 1,000 years. Walked through the ruins, his scanning device beeping softly in his hand. He was an intelligence officer for the Galactic Coalition, and his job was to study old things that nobody cared about anymore. The ruins were strange. The buildings were too tall, the doorways too narrow. Whoever built this place was long gone, had seen ruins like this before, scattered across 40 different worlds. The Coalition called them ghost cities, and nobody knew who made them. Officer, his assistant, called over the radio. "We found something in the northern sector. You need to see this." Made his way through the broken streets. His assistant stood in front of a large metal door buried in the ground. Strange symbols covered its surface. Had seen these symbols before in a dozen different places, but nobody could read them. "Open it," ordered. Inside, they found a chamber filled with dust and old machines. On the wall, more symbols. Took pictures of everything. Back on the Coalition, the historians would study them and say the same thing they always said. The first builders left these behind, but they are just a myth. The first builders. Every species in the galaxy had stories about them. They were supposed to be the first intelligent race, the ones who built the great structures that still floated in space. Some stories said they were warriors who never surrendered. Other stories said they could survive anything, adapt to any world, and their minds could solve any problem. But the Coalition's best scientists said it was all fantasy. Just stories people told to explain things they did not understand. Did not care much either way. He filed his report and went home. 3 months later, everything changed. A salvage crew was working in the void sector, a part of space where nobody was allowed to go. The area was too dangerous, filled with dead stars and radiation storms. But salvage crews never followed the rules when there was money to be made. They found a ship. It was huge, bigger than anything the Coalition had ever built. Its hull was covered in ice and debris, floating dead in the darkness. The salvage captain called it in, hopping for a reward. Instead, the Coalition military arrived and took over. Was called in to investigate. When he first saw the ship, he felt something cold in his chest. The symbols on its hull matched the ones from the ruins. Exactly. "This ship is over 3,000 years old," the lead scientist told him. "Maybe older, we cannot tell, but officer, there are life signs inside." "That is impossible," said. "We know, but the readings do not lie." They cut through the hull carefully. Inside, the ship was frozen and dark. Emergency lights flickered on as they moved through the corridors. Everything was designed wrong. The gravity was too strong. The air was too rich in oxygen. The temperatures would kill most Coalition species. They found the bay deep inside the ship. 2 chambers were still active, their power supplies somehow still functioning after thousands of years. Through the frosted glass, could see 2 figures inside. They looked strange. Their body proportions were unusual, their faces too flat, their skin too smooth. "Wake them up," ordered. The scientist argued but insisted. If these beings were connected to the first builders, the Coalition needed to know. The first chamber opened with a hiss of cold air. The figure inside was female, her skin pale from the long sleep. She coughed, her eyes opening slowly. The medical team rushed forward, but she pushed them away, surprisingly strong for someone who had just woken up. "Where?" she spoke, but in a language nobody understood. The translation computers worked quickly. Within minutes, they had enough data. "Where am I?" she asked again, this time in Coalition Standard. "You are safe," said carefully. "What is your name?" She replied, sitting up. "I am an engineer. Where is my ship? Where is?" "There is another person with you." "My navigator. We were running. How long has it been?" Hesitated. "What were you running from?" Looked at him with eyes that had seen terrible things. "You would not believe me." "Try." "We were running from the end of everything." The second chamber opened. A male figure emerged, younger than. He looked around in confusion until he saw her. "You are alive," he spoke in their old language, then switched to Coalition Standard when he saw the others. "I am. What year is this?" When told them, both humans went very quiet. 3,000 years, whispered. "We slept for 3,000 years. "What are you?" asked. "What species?" Stood up even though the doctors tried to make her rest. She was shorter than, but something about the way she stood made her seem larger. "We are human," she said, "from the planet Earth." The computers went crazy. Alarms started ringing. The translation system flagged the word human as a match for ancient texts, the same texts that talked about the first builders. "That is impossible," said. "Humans are a myth, a story." Smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "We are very real, and if we have been asleep for 3,000 years, then something very bad is about to happen to your galaxy." "What do you mean?" "We were not running away like cowards," said quietly. "We were the survivors, the last ones left. Everyone else stayed behind to fight." "Fight what?" demanded. Walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "You will find out soon enough. They always come back, and when they do, you will wish humans really were just a myth." Far away at the edge of the galaxy, a coalition listening post detected something strange. A whole colony world had gone silent. No signals, no responses, nothing. It was the first sign. The humans had been right. Something was waking up. The coalition capital was a city of glass and light, built on a world with 3 suns, and were brought there in chains. Not because they were prisoners, but because the High Council feared what they did not understand. Commander met them at the landing platform. He was a military officer, tall and covered in blue scales. Unlike the politicians, he looked at the humans with curiosity instead of fear. "I apologize for the restraints," said. "The council is cautious." "They should be," replied. They were taken to a research facility where a scientist named waited. She had spent her entire life studying the ruins of the first builders. Now, she had living specimens. "Please sit," said, her voice excited. "I have so many questions. Your biology is fascinating. Your bone density is much higher than any coalition species. Your muscle structure is incredibly efficient. How do you survive such strong gravity?" "We evolved on a heavy world," explained. "Earth had strong gravity, so our bodies adapted." Ran test after test. She discovered that humans could eat foods that were poisonous to other species. Their immune systems could fight diseases that killed entire alien populations. Their brains processed information in ways that seemed impossible. "You heal so quickly," marveled, watching a cut on his hand close up. "And your pain tolerance is remarkable." "We had to be tough," said quietly. "Our world did not forgive weakness." While studied their bodies, studied their minds. He asked them questions for hours. "Tell me about Earth," he said. "Tell me what happened." Closed her eyes, remembering. Earth was beautiful. Blue oceans, green forests, millions of different life forms. We were not always united. We fought wars among ourselves for thousands of years. But then we reached the stars and found something that made our old conflicts seem stupid. The parasites added. "What are they?" asked. "They come from somewhere else, not our dimension. They eat worlds, not just the resources but the life itself. They consume everything that thinks, everything that feels. We detected them when they entered our galaxy 3,000 years ago." His voice shook as she continued. "We sent warnings to every species we could find. Some listened, most did not. The parasites moved slowly at first, testing us. Then they attacked in force. World after world went silent. Billions died." "What did you do?" asked, entering the room. "We fought. Every human, every ship, every weapon we had. But there were too many of them, so we made a choice. Half of humanity would stay and fight, buying time. The other half would run, taking our knowledge and history with them. We would sleep in deep space until the threat passed. And the fighters asked. Space became hard. They died, all of them, but they gave us time to escape. Wanted to believe they were lying, but then the reports started coming in. 6 colony worlds on the galactic rim had gone dark. Coalition ships were sent to investigate. They found nothing. No buildings, no people, no life at all. Just empty planets with strange marks on the surface. The Coalition High Council called an emergency meeting, and were brought before them, still in restraints. You say these parasites destroyed your civilization, the council leader said. Do you have proof? Laughed bitterly. Check your sensor logs. The pattern is starting again. Worlds going silent on the rim, moving inward. That is how they work. They eat from the edges first. We need more than your word, another council member said. Then the message came. A coalition battle fleet had encountered something at the border. The transmission was brief and filled with static. Contact with unknown hostiles, shields failing. They are inside the ship. Oh gods, they are eating the crew. Send help, send. The transmission ended. The council chamber went silent. Send another fleet, the council leader ordered. With respect, said Standing, another fleet will die the same way. These humans know the enemy. We should listen to them. They are relics from a dead civilization, a council member argued. What can they possibly know that we do not? Before anyone could answer, rushed into the chamber. We found another ship, he announced. A human ship, bigger than the first, and there is someone inside who has been waiting to talk to us. The ship was a massive archive vessel designed to preserve human knowledge. Inside, they found one person in sleep. His name was, and he had been a historian on Earth. When woke, he was calm, as if he had expected this. You found us, he said. That means they are back. He carried data cores filled with information. The Coalition's best computers worked for days to translate everything. What they found terrified them. The parasites had destroyed 47 civilizations before reaching Earth. They could not be killed by normal weapons because they existed partially in another dimension. They could appear anywhere, consume anything, and they never stopped. We learned everything about them, explained to the council. We studied their biology, their tactics, their weaknesses. We passed that knowledge down through generations, and we almost won. Almost, the council leader asked. We killed 90% of them, but the last 10% went dormant, hiding in the space between stars. We knew they would wake up eventually. That is why we sent the colony ships. We hoped that when they returned, someone would be here to fight them. Looked at the council members with old, tired eyes. We died so you could live. The least you can do is listen to what we learned. The council argued for hours. Some wanted to run, others wanted to negotiate. A few wanted to fight but had no idea how. Finally stood up and broke her restraints. The metal snapped like paper in her hands. Guards rushed forward but stopped them. We did not survive 3,000 years to watch you make the same mistakes we did, said, her voice echoing through the chamber. You can choose to fight with us, or you can wait to die alone. Either way, humans will do what we always do. What is that? The council leader asked. Smiled, we survive, no matter the cost. Somewhere in deep space, more human ships were waking up. The coalition was breaking apart. 6 species wanted to flee to the next galaxy. 4 wanted to surrender to the parasites, hopping for mercy. The rest did not know what to do. Commander made a choice. He took his personal fleet and joined on a mission to find more human ships. If the old stories were true, humanity had been warriors without equal. He needed to find out if the stories were real. They searched for 6 months. The ancient human data cores gave them locations of colony ships that had fled into deep space. One by one, they found them. The ships were massive, built to carry thousands of people across the stars. Most were still in perfect condition, their systems running on backup power that had lasted for. Inside were humans, soldiers, pilots, engineers, scientists, all sleeping, waiting for the day they would be needed again. When the first military ship was opened, he was a tactical commander, and his eyes were sharp even after 3,000 years of sleep. Status report, demanded as soon as he woke up. The parasites are back, told him. They are attacking coalition worlds. Nodded as if he had expected this. How many ships have you found? 27 so far, 140,000 humans. Not enough, keep looking. Among the awakened humans was Sora, a combat pilot with 200 confirmed kills against the parasites. She was young but had fought in the last battles before the evacuation. They are different from anything you have fought, Sora warned the coalition pilots. They do not follow rules, they do not care about honor, they only want to consume. She began training coalition volunteers in human combat tactics. The aliens were shocked. You want us to lie, one pilot asked, to trick the enemy? Yes, Sora said. You want us to hide in ambush? Yes. That is dishonorable. Sora looked at him coldly. Honor does not matter when you are dead. Your enemy does not care about your traditions. They only care about eating you. So you can keep your honor and die, or you can fight like a human and live. Slowly, they began to understand. Minyu, a chief engineer, looked at the coalition's weapons and shook his head. Energy shields are useless against them, he said. They pass right through. Your plasma weapons do not work either. They absorb the energy. Then how do we fight them? A coalition admiral asked. The old way, kinetic weapons, missiles, explosives, anything that delivers physical force. We throw rocks at them if we have to, but we throw those rocks really, really fast. Minyu began modifying coalition ships. He added that could fire metal slugs at incredible speeds. He installed nuclear warheads that had not been used in the galaxy for centuries. He even designed missiles that could accelerate to near light speed, turning mass into devastating weapons. This is barbaric, some coalition members complained. This is survival, replied. The test came sooner than expected. A mid-rim world called Talos Prime sent out a distress call. The parasites had arrived. The coalition sent their best fleet, 300 ships with their weapons and shields, and watched the battle from the command center. The coalition forces followed their standard tactics, organized formations, coordinated fire patterns, defensive positions. The parasites tore through them in minutes. The aliens fought bravely, but they were not prepared for an enemy that ignored every rule of warfare. Parasite creatures phased through shields, appeared inside ships, and consumed crews before they could react. They are losing, said quietly. I know, replied, but they needed to learn. Human force arrived late, just 12 ships modified with human weapons, but these 12 ships fought differently. They did not form neat lines. They scattered, moving unpredictably. They used asteroids for cover. They fired weapons from angles the enemy did not expect. When parasites phased onto their ships, the humans were ready with flamethrowers and kinetic weapons. Sora led fighter squadrons that swarmed the parasite vessels like angry insects, hitting weak points and retreating before the enemy could respond. But there were too many parasites. Talos Prime was lost. Evacuate everyone you can, ordered the remaining coalition ships. You have 10 minutes. What are you doing? The coalition admiral demanded. Winning, said. The human ships helped evacuate survivors, cramming refugees into every available space. Then they pulled back to a safe distance. Fire the planet crackers, ordered. 3 massive missiles launched from the human flagship. They struck Talos Prime at precise points around the equator. The warheads detonated deep underground, each one powerful enough to shatter continents. The planet's core destabilized. Talus Prime began tearing itself apart. The parasites, concentrated on the surface to consume the remaining life, were caught in the destruction. Millions of them died as the world cracked open. The coalition forces watched in horror and awe. They destroyed an entire planet, someone whispered. They saved the system, corrected. If the parasites had spread from there, 10 more worlds would have fallen. Back at the command center, the council was in chaos. Some members condemned the humans for their brutal tactics. Others argued that brutal tactics were needed for a brutal enemy. How can we trust them? One council member asked. They just destroyed a world. They destroyed a world to save a galaxy, said. That is what humans do. They make the hard choices that we are too afraid to make. More human ships were found each day. More soldiers, more pilots, more engineers. They brought with them knowledge that the galaxy had forgotten. How to fight without honor, how to win without mercy, how to sacrifice everything for survival. Stood before the council again, this time without restraints. You think we are monsters, he said. You think we are too violent, too cruel. Maybe you are right, but we became this way because we had no choice. When the galaxy was ending, we were the ones who stood in the gap. We were the ones who died so others could live. He paused, looking at each council member. Now the galaxy is ending again, so you have to decide. Do you want to survive or do you want to die with your honor intact? Because you cannot have both. In the silence that followed, more alarms rang out. 3 more worlds had gone dark. The parasites were accelerating their attack. Gathered all the human commanders for a meeting. Sara, Minu, and dozens of others. We now have 2.4 million humans awake, reported. More every day. We have 300 ships modified for combat. We have trained 30,000 coalition volunteers, but it is not enough. What do we need? Sora asked. Brought up a star map. Our scientists found something. The parasites have a weakness, but exploiting it will require us to do something dangerous, something we swore we would never do again. The room went quiet. The endgame protocol, whispered. Nodded, it is the only way. Stood up, that protocol nearly destroyed us last time. It changes people, changes humanity itself. I know, said, but if we do not use it, everyone dies, human and alien alike. The commanders looked at each other. They had slept for 3,000 years. They had lost their civilization, everything they loved. Now they were being asked to sacrifice even more. Let us vote, Sora said quietly. In the end, 89% of humans agreed. They would become monsters to fight monsters. The galaxy's last hope rested on beings it had thought were myths. Ara was one of the few human scientists who specialized in studying alien life forms. She had spent years before the evacuation analyzing the parasites, trying to find their weakness. Now, 3,000 years later, she finally had the answer. They exist in 2 places at once, Ara explained to the assembled commanders. Part of them is in our dimension, part is in subspace. That is why our normal weapons pass through them or get absorbed. We are only hitting half of the target. How do we hit the other half? Asked. The coalition scientist had become close friends with the humans, learning everything she could from them. We force them fully into our dimension, Ara said. I have designed a device that uses quantum resonance to collapse their subspace connection. Once they are fully in our reality, they can be killed. What do you need? Asked. Ara brought up a diagram. Exotic matter, a rare element that exists only near the galactic core. We need enough to power the device. The room went silent. The galactic core was deep in parasite-controlled territory. Hundreds of worlds between here and there had already fallen. It is a suicide mission, Minu said quietly. No, said a voice from the back. Everyone turned to see a special operations leader who had just been awakened. It is a stealth mission. There is a difference. Was older than most of the soldiers. with scars that told stories of battles long past. He had led covert operations during the war, missions that nobody talked about afterward. "I will need a small team," said. "Fast ship, experienced people. We go in quiet, get the material, come back." "You will be going through systems filled with parasites," warned. "Even if they do not see you, the journey will take months." "Then we better leave soon," replied. While the strike team prepared, worked on the political front. She was a human diplomat, skilled at making enemies into allies. She traveled to every coalition, speaking to their leaders. "Humans will lead the military effort," she told them. "We have the experience and the knowledge, but we cannot build ships fast enough alone. We need your factories, your resources, your industrial capacity." Some species agreed immediately. Others needed convincing. "Why should we trust you?" one alien leader asked. "You destroyed Talos Prime. How do we know you will not destroy our worlds too?" Looked him in the eye. "Because we are trying to save you. We already died once to stop these things. We know what it costs. We do not want anyone else to pay that price." Slowly, an alliance formed. Human tactical knowledge combined with coalition manufacturing. Ships were built faster than ever before. Weapons were mass-produced. Defensive stations were erected around key worlds. But everyone knew it was not enough. His team left on a small, fast ship equipped with the best stealth technology both humans and coalition could provide. His crew was small: 2 pilots, 1 engineer, 1 scientist, and himself. The journey was a nightmare. They passed through dead systems where planets had been stripped of all life. They hid in asteroid fields while parasite swarms passed nearby. Twice, they were detected and had to run, using every trick new to escape. "They are everywhere," one of the pilots said, her voice shaking. "Stay focused," ordered. "Fear gets you killed, discipline keeps you alive." After 3 months, they reached the galactic core. The exotic matter was found near a collapsed star, formed by extreme gravitational forces that existed nowhere else. They harvested what they needed, working quickly while parasite forces gathered in nearby systems. Then they found something else. "Sir," the scientist called out, "you need to see this." They detected a massive structure hidden in the radiation of the core. It was alive with parasite energy signatures. Ordered a scan. What they found made his blood run cold. "It is a breeding facility," the scientist whispered. "They are making more of themselves, billions more." The calculations were devastating. The parasites were preparing a final swarm. Every force they had encountered so far was just a scouting party. The real attack was coming. "How long do we have?" asked. 6 months, maybe less." "Can we destroy it?" "Not with what we have. We would need an entire fleet." Made a decision. "Take detailed scans, every piece of data you can get, then we run." The return journey was even more dangerous. Parasite forces seemed to sense that something had changed. They were more aggressive, more coordinated. Lost 1 crew member when parasites boarded the ship. The man sacrificed himself, sealing off a section and venting it into space with the parasites still inside. When they finally reached coalition space, delivered both the exotic matter and the terrible news. The council gathered to hear his report. When he finished, the chamber was silent. "We cannot win," one council member said. "There are too many." "Not with conventional warfare," agreed. "That is why we need to use the endgame protocol." "Explain this protocol," the council leader demanded. Stood before them all. Beside him were and the other human leaders. "During the war with the parasites, we developed a technology that we swore never to use again," began. "It links human minds together using quantum entanglement. We become a hive intelligence, like the parasites, but different." "How is it different?" asked. "The parasites share one mind that controls all the bodies," explained. "Our system connects individual minds that can still think independently. We share knowledge, coordinate perfectly, but we do not lose ourselves. At least that is the theory, added quietly. When we used it before, some people never fully disconnected. Parts of other minds stayed with them forever. It changes you. Why did you stop using it? Asked. Because we started to like it too much, said. Some humans did not want to be individuals anymore. They wanted to stay connected forever. It was tearing us apart even as it helped us win battles. And now you want to use it again, the council leader said. It is the only way to win, replied. The parasites are too many, too coordinated. But if we link every human mind, we can outthink them. We can coordinate attacks across thousands of systems simultaneously. We can be everywhere at once. What are the risks? Asked. Stepped forward. The honest answer, we do not know. Last time we had billions of humans. Now we have only millions. The strain on each mind will be greater. Some of us might not survive the connection. Others might never want to disconnect. We might stop being human, added, become something else entirely. The council members looked at each other, uncertain. You are asking your people to sacrifice their individuality, the council leader said, to become weapons. We are asking ourselves to do what we always do, Sora said, speaking for the first time. Whatever it takes to survive, that is what makes us human, not our bodies, not our minds, but our refusal to give up. Address the council. The coalition does not have to use this technology. Only humans will connect, but we need your support. We need your fleets to hold the line while we prepare. We need your trust. And if you fail, someone asked. Then we all die together, said simply. But we will die fighting. And maybe, just maybe, we will give the next civilization enough time to find a better answer. The council voted. By a narrow margin, they agreed to support the human plan. Across coalition space, humans began preparing for the endgame protocol. Engineers built the quantum link stations. Scientists refined the technology. Soldiers trained for one final battle. Found alone one night, looking at the stars. Are we doing the right thing? She asked. I do not know, admitted. But I know what happens if we do nothing. I have seen too many worlds die. I will not watch it happen again. What if we win, but lose ourselves in the process? Smiled sadly. Then at least the galaxy survives. That has to be enough. The preparations took 4 months. During that time, more worlds fell. The parasite swarm grew larger every day. Finally, everything was ready. 2.4 million humans stood at the quantum link stations. They looked at each other, knowing that when they connected, they might never be the same again. For Earth, Sora whispered. For humanity, others responded. For the future, said. They activated the protocol. And 2 million individual minds became one. The moment the connection activated, felt herself expand. She was still herself, but now she was also and Sora and Minu and every other human connected to the network. She could feel their thoughts, their memories, their skills. A pilot's reflexes, an engineer's knowledge, a soldier's training, all flowing through her mind like water. It should have been overwhelming. Instead, it felt natural, like remembering something she had always known. From the Coalition Command Center, watched in amazement. The human forces, spread across 300 ships, began moving with impossible precision. Every pilot knew what every other pilot was doing. Every gunner fired at the exact moment for maximum effect. Every ship moved as if controlled by a single mind. But it was not one mind. It was millions of minds working together. Incredible, whispered, watching the data. They are still individuals, but they think as one when needed. The parasites arrived 2 days later. The swarm came from the galactic core, exactly as had predicted. Billions of creatures, coordinated by their collective consciousness, moving to consume the remaining civilized worlds. Coalition fleets formed defensive lines around key systems. They were terrified but determined. The humans had taught them how to fight. Now they would prove they had learned. The first battles were brutal. Parasite forces hit the outer defenses with overwhelming numbers. Coalition ships fell back, using human tactics to buy time. They did not fight fair. They used asteroids as weapons, detonated stars to create radiation barriers, and collapsed space stations on top of enemy swarms. They died by the thousands, but they sold their lives dearly. Meanwhile, the connected humans enacted their plan. Sora led fighter wings that struck at 3,000 different points simultaneously. She was in a cockpit, but she was also coordinating with every other pilot, seeing through their eyes, feeling their movements. When one group engaged the enemy, another was already flanking from a different angle. The parasites had never faced anything like it. Minu's engineers worked on 1,000 ships at once, making repairs and modifications in perfect coordination. What would take days for normal crews took them hours. Commanded the overall strategy, but he was not giving orders. He was sharing plans, and every human understood instantly. They adapted, improvised, executed without needing to be told. In the midst of the chaos, Aura activated the quantum resonance device. The exotic matter powered up, sending waves of energy across the battlefield. Parasites that had been phasing through shields suddenly became solid. Creatures that had been nearly invisible appeared in full. Now, thought echoed through every human mind. The attack was devastating. Kinetic weapons, missiles, nuclear bombs, all hit the now vulnerable parasites with terrible effectiveness. Entire swarms were destroyed in moments. But the parasites adapted quickly. They began avoiding the device's range, forcing the humans to chase them. The battle spread across the galaxy. Human forces split into strike teams, hitting parasite concentrations from every direction. The coalition fleets held defensive positions, protecting civilian worlds while the humans went on the offensive. Weeks passed, the fighting never stopped. Felt the strain. Being connected to millions of minds was exhausting. Some humans began to fade, their consciousness overwhelmed by the shared experience. When they died, everyone felt it. A brief moment of pain, then emptiness where a mind had been. But they kept fighting. Led ground forces on worlds that were partially consumed, fighting hand-to-hand against parasites while evacuation ships rescued survivors. He moved like a ghost, appearing where needed, disappearing before the enemy could respond. Coordinated with coalition forces, her diplomatic skills now enhanced by the network. She could negotiate with 12 alien leaders simultaneously, each conversation flowing naturally even as she fought battles in her mind. The parasites began to understand they were losing. Their collective consciousness reached out, trying to make contact with the human network. It was a terrible, alien intelligence, driven by hunger and the need to consume. Felt it first, a presence pushing against their connection, trying to understand what humans were. Do not let it in, he warned the others. But had a different idea. What if we let it see us? He suggested through the network. What if we show it what it is fighting? That is dangerous, Ara warned. Everything we are doing is dangerous, replied. Against warnings, opened his mind to the parasite collective. The swarm crashed into human consciousness like a wave. It was vast, ancient, and completely alien. It did not understand individuals. It only knew hunger, consumption, expansion. But now it was seeing humanity through memories. It saw Earth, beautiful and blue. It saw humans fighting among themselves, then coming together. It saw love, sacrifice, creativity, and stubborn refusal to accept defeat. It saw people choosing to die so others could live. They could not comprehend it. To the parasites, all life was food. The concept of sacrifice made no sense. Why would one organism choose death for another? Showed it more. He showed human history, All the times humanity had faced extinction and survived. All the times they had lost everything and rebuilt. All the times they had been knocked down and stood back up. We are not like you, projected into the alien consciousness. We are not one being. We are millions of individuals who choose to work together. That choice makes us stronger than you can imagine. The tried to consume's mind to absorb his knowledge, but it could not. The human network protected him, pulling him back, supporting him. Then every human in the network spoke as one. Leave or be destroyed. The hesitated. For the first time in its existence, it felt something new. Fear. It pulled back, gathering its forces. The parasites began retreating toward the galactic core, preparing for one final attack. This is it, told everyone through the network. One last battle, everything we have. The coalition, every ship, every weapon, every soldier, led the fleet personally, his blue scales gleaming under the starlight. Humans saved us, he told his crews. Now we fight beside them for honor, for survival, for the future. The final battle took place near the galactic core, where it all began. Human and coalition forces faced the parasites' last swarm. The fighting was savage. Ships exploded. Planets burned. Space itself seemed to tear apart under the violence. Found herself everywhere at once. Flying fighters with Sora, commanding ships with, fighting on the ground with. She was individuals and a collective, one and many. The quantum device reached full power. Aura had modified it, making it stronger, more focused. When it activated, every parasite in the sector became fully solid. Hit them with everything, roared. The combined fleet unleashed hell. Missiles by the millions, slugs moving at relativistic speeds, nuclear firestorms, kinetic impactors, even old-fashioned explosives. The parasites died in droves, but they fought back desperately. Human casualties mounted. 60% of the connected humans were killed in the first hour. Felt each death like a piece of herself being torn away. But humanity did not break. They pushed forward, accepting losses, trading lives for victory. It was brutal, ugly, and completely human. They did what needed to be done. They made one final attempt to survive. It tried to flee, to escape into subspace. Would not let it. He focused the entire human network's attention on the millions of minds, all thinking one thought: no more. The quantum device pulsed one last time. It was trapped, fully in real space, unable to escape. Minu's planet cracker missiles were already incoming. The explosion that followed was visible across the galaxy. The died, and with it, the last of the parasites lost their coordination. They became disorganized, easy to hunt down. Victory. But the cost was terrible. Of the 2.4 million humans who had connected, only 900,000 survived. The network began to disconnect, minds separating after months of being joined. Felt herself becoming just again. It was lonely. She had been part of something infinite, and now she was small again. Some humans chose not to disconnect fully. They kept threads of connection to each other, unable to let go of what they had experienced. Was one of them. I cannot go back, he told. I cannot be just one person anymore. Then do not, said gently. Be what you need to be. The survivors created something new. Not fully connected, not fully separate. A community of linked minds who could still think independently. They called themselves the Linked, and they became humanity's explorers and protectors. 10 years passed. The galaxy recovered. The coalition, strengthened by human knowledge and technology, expanded into areas that had been lost to the parasites. Humans established a new world, naming it New Terra. It was different from Earth but beautiful in its own way. They built cities, farms, schools. They taught their children about the old world and the new. Now elderly walked through a park where human and alien children played together. Was beside her, his hair gray but his eyes still bright. found them there. The alien officer had become one of humanity's closest allies. "I brought you something," said, handing a data pad. On it was a message from the linked. Sara, Minu, and thousands of others who remained connected. They were exploring beyond the galaxy, seeking new worlds, protecting against new threats. "They are happy," said, "different but happy." "Good," replied. "Was it worth it?" asked quietly. "Everything you lost, Earth, your old civilization, your individuality." Watch the children playing, human and alien together, laughing, learning, growing. "We did not lose anything," she said finally. "We came home. We were never gone, just sleeping until we were needed, and now we are exactly where we are supposed to be." A ship passed overhead, marked with Terra's symbol. It carried supplies to the outer colonies, protected by linked humans who would never sleep again. Squeezed hand. "The galaxy thought we were myths. Now we are legends," said, smiling. "Better than that," corrected. "You are hope, living proof that no matter how dark things get, survival is possible." In the distance, more ships prepared to launch. Human explorers, coalition scientists joined crews of mixed species. They would go to the stars, seeking knowledge, finding new worlds, protecting the innocent. The human race had returned, not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as partners in the great adventure of existence. And the galaxy would never forget them again.